Welcome to the daily chess puzzle. Today we have a little endgame lecture and I will show you how to play the king and pawn endgame from the side of the player with a pawn and then also from the defending side. So here we have the basic position or the final position of the endgame, and we have an interesting position here because it depends who is to move, whether this is winning or if it's a draw. So if white is to move, then this is a draw, because if white king moves to d6, then this is stalemate, and if he moves anywhere else, then let's say he moves here and black captures the pawn, and we have a draw because there's no material left. So now let's see how it is if it's a black turn, and then black is forced to go to c7 and the white king just advances to e7 and black cannot prevent that the pawn will be promoted. Here we are at an earlier stage of the endgame, and let's have a look at the key squares in the position. The key squares are these 6 squares in front of the pawn, and if white manages to get his king on one of these 6 squares, he will win the endgame with a correct play. So let's have a look. If the king moves to e6, let's say black tries to defend by getting in front of the pawn, white can just take the opposition and black is forced to step to the side. White gets his king to c7 and you can see that the promotion of this pawn cannot be stopped. If, however, white advances the pawn to d6 first instead of getting his king onto the key squares, then this game will only end in a draw now, as black can get in front of the pawn, and if we try with white to now get on the key squares, black can take the opposition, and as we have seen before, with white to move, this position is only a draw. So now again let's look at a position how it could have been earlier in this endgame, and we have this position where the kings are facing each other in front of the pawn, and this is another key position that you need to understand, and again there are these 3 key squares that are important for you to understand in order to win or draw the game. So here we have a situation where again the side who is to move is at a disadvantage. So if white is to move, for example, then black can just counter every move that white can do and keep him from entering these key squares. On the other hand, if it's black to move, then wherever he goes, white has a good answer to get on the key squares. So now let's assume it's black to move, and we will see how the game then goes, or how white can promote the pawn. Let's say black steps to the side, white gets on this key square, and black tries to come forward. Then we can just check him with the pawn, and if he walks up, we still just continue staying on these key squares. Now if he goes up, just stay on the key square. Although now when he comes down we cannot advance this pawn. Maybe we have to find another way. For example, we just advance the pawn, and now we have this situation where we have these 6 squares, and since we are on it, we win this endgame. And to end the lecture, we will now look at a situation where black is going to draw the game, and I will show you how black can do that. Also here we have some key squares. If white gets on any of those, and also on this side, then he will be able to capture the black pawn on d5, but it doesn't mean that he will win the game. So let's make some moves. And now black is forced to move away from his pawn, and he cannot, or he can prevent that white takes it. Then it's just some shuffling around, and he takes the opposition now. And we know from before that these key squares, white cannot win this position anymore, or he couldn't do it before either. So let's say he tries to just advance his pawn in the hope that he will somehow get somewhere. So now it is important that black does not move to this e8 square, because after then the king takes the opposition on e6. This will be a white win. So that's the only thing that black has to avoid. He goes back. And if white goes on the square now, we have a draw. Let's go back a few moves. If white tries this way, then we just go forward. We shuffle around. So that's how you draw this game with black, and that's the end of the lecture. Thank you for watching.